Electricity, power, the ability to take energy in one form and make it do something that you want it to do. That's what these are. These are batteries. They store energy. Now you're saying, those don't look very standard like batteries I've ever seen. Well, that may be true. You may or may not have seen these. These aren't the average run-of-the-day batteries. When I was a kid, we used to play with these. And we would hook them up. You can see the little... You put wires on them. Run them to a little... We used to have those little motors that were that big that were electric. And you could, you get them like if you take apart a pencil sharpener or some little gadget that turns, or like an electronic screwdriver or whatever, it had a little motor inside, and you could run a wire from one to one, a negative and a positive wire, and then you could hook it up to your screwdriver, and it would spin or make noise or do whatever. But what this is, for those of you who don't know, this is a photography battery. That's right, this is part of photography. Not used as much today, obviously, but they're still around. And this is part of this. This is a Polaroid. And what you did is you pop this open. You have a little, you can get a little distancing here so you can kind of gauge your distance. You got a little thing you can go make it darker or brighter. You got a little sensor right here, and you've got another little sensor right there. And then, of course, you aim that through this thing, so it's not actually, you got the light that goes onto the films here, and your actual viewfinders right here, so it's definitely not an SLR. Got a flash right here, but this camera doesn't have a battery. There's no battery, there's no power supply inside this camera at all. So how do you run a camera that has a flash that doesn't have a battery? And there's no specified battery compartment. This is where the film goes. Okay. Now what you did, I don't have one with me, but you had a film cartridge, and inside that film cartridge were 10 Polaroid pieces of exposure that when you took the picture, it would expose the film, and then it would spit out the picture, and in about, say, a minute or a minute and a half, the picture would develop, and you had a picture to keep. But what most people don't know is that inside with those 10 pictures, at the bottom of them was this battery. And this battery allowed you to fire the flash, as well as the power to eject the picture. Plus, there's a little red light in here that, when activated, it told you knew that the flash was ready to fire, and you had to wait for it to turn red until you know the flash was powered up, and then you can sit here and you go beep, then you can push the button when you're ready to take a picture. Now, obviously, this is no kind of sports camera. This is for taking pictures, portrait selfies, as we call them today, or pictures of your family. I remember as a kid we had pictures like people blowing out birthday candles, or if we got some new toy for Christmas or a birthday or for some gift, people take a picture and then sit there and it would spit out a picture. And you got 10 pictures for about $7 or $8, which back in the day wasn't exactly cheap. I mean, it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. So, this battery was in the bottom, and it powered all parts of this camera. There's no extra. There's no place for a battery, like a AA or 9 volt or anything like that. Inside the flash, inside anything else, all the power for the entire camera came from this battery. Now, one of the great things about this battery is there's way more power than there needed to be. And what I mean by that is you could take 10 pictures, have enough power for the red light. On this particular camera, there's a little green light here, right here as well. A red light inside the viewfinder, power the ejection of the picture, do all the internal stuff that has to be done. There's a little alarm on, not alarm, but a little noise it makes, etc., etc. Take the 10 pictures, do all the stuff it had to do, and you still had plenty of power on these batteries. Now, I look at that as a good way and a bad way. One, when you threw the empty cartridge away, most people wouldn't even think. I mean, me, I like to take stuff apart and see how it works and do stuff. But most people, would just, as this was on the bottom of the film cartridge, most people would throw the cartridge and this attached to it, just throw it away. Not even think about it. This is, however, a battery. It's got a warning on here of don't cut, don't burn, don't peel off the wrapper. You see that warning on there? So there's plenty of power left after you are done taking pictures. Now, I look at that in two ways. One, it's a waste of electricity or power to just throw it away. Okay, so there's that. Now, granted, it's not a lot of power, and it's not a huge deal, but it is electrical power being thrown away. So it is waste. But on the other side is the fact that it's better to have too much power than not enough power. I mean, can you imagine if, for example, it took 5 shots and quit, and you couldn't do anything with the other 5 shots, for example? So you want to have enough power to do 10 shots, plus, you may not take a picture every time you pull the trigger, so the power up the flash, power up the mechanism and everything. You may not actually take the picture. So it has to do all the bells and whistles more than 10 times, obviously. So plenty of power to do what had to be done in this battery. And most people ended up just throwing these batteries away because they were in the bottom. There was like a little tray that fit in here. Okay. Spit out the 10 pictures when they're done, and the battery was in the bottom of this, and it got thrown away. So it was kind of a waste, but it was not a big deal. But it's kind of a deal. By today's standards, of course, because by today's standards, you want to save and reuse as much as possible. But back in the day, when these first came out, the environment and all that wasn't such a big deal as it is today. But I look at it as they had more power than they needed, but it was good. But it was also bad. So it just depends how you look at it. And granted, if I was a camera manufacturer, I would bear on the side of extra power as compared to not enough, because you want people to buy your products, and if your product gets a reputation of not having enough power long enough, obviously that's not good. So better have too much power than not enough. And I just want to show you this because it's a little piece of photographic history. As you can look at it, it's got a little. And this is made by Polaroid. Now, they still make these today in limited number. I mean, obviously with DSLRs and iPhones and phones in everybody's, cameras in everybody's phone. This is kind of the way of for the most part, of antiques. But back in the day, I can remember back in the day, it was a cool thing to have a Polaroid because they made them smaller than this is one of the, maybe not the first models, but they made them. I mean, I remember some of them were like that thin. I mean, this thick or this thick. They made them a lot thinner as time went on, and they're a nice little item. Would I carry around one of these cameras today? No, of course not. But back in the day, it was a neat little gadget, a neat little toy. And if you got one that still works, it's not a bad, it's not a bad thing to have. If you want something, you can just, take it and pass it around. It's a good little camera. And nowadays, of course, they're real cheap. I mean, you can probably get this online for about $20 probably, or less if you go to a garage sale. So depending on where you find it, where you get it, anywhere from $10, $20, $40 maybe. I can remember back in the day though, they were like $150, $200. I think the one mom and dad bought was like around $100. I think when they bought it, and so it wasn't cheap. In fact, I think if I remember, it was like $125. So it wasn't always cheap. Of course, nowadays, like I said, people give these things away, most of them, because it's it's old technology. But I think it's a neat little look into the past, along with the battery that powered it. So there you go. Look into the past. So until next time, I'm Canon U.S.A. for RandallMRueff. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. May God bless you. And of course, the best way to avoid the mistakes of the past or into the future are to look at our past, learn from where we come from, so we can have a better idea of where we need to go.